Says, Lynn, you certainly have given us a great deal to think about, and you've raised many points that I haven't considered. But there also is one central problem that all of us in state government have to deal with, and we have to deal with it immediately. And that is the following. When President Obama was elected, he indicated that he would initiate an economic recovery program from the bottom up. Now, since he has taken office, there has been one payment to the states that came as a product of his initial stimulus bill. And that money did in fact allow many states to continue basic functioning when they would not have been able to otherwise. But it is also the case that for most states, that money did not go very far. And on top of that, soaring unemployment has only served to worsen the situation. Almost all state governments right now, whether they are dominated by Democrats or Republicans, are being forced to enact both tax increases and increases in virtually all fees that we charge our citizens for basic services. And we are being forced to do that at the very same time that we make cuts in vital services. Now, the administration has prioritized dealing with the financial and banking crisis first. And in that area, you had the first bailout and the second bailout, and it looks like a third and fourth bailout, and I suspect that surely there are more coming. But the fact is that aside from the very first stimulus bill, which everyone seemed to agree was inadequate, there has been no action coming from Washington. And the fact is that right now, we all face emergency conditions. Now, I do understand that there are much larger issues that have to be addressed, and certainly you did address them today, and I'm grateful to you for doing that. But the fact remains that we have to do something now, and we really don't know what to do. We do not enjoy squeezing our constituents in the way that we are, but we are facing shutdown. So my question to you is really twofold. One is the obvious question, and that is, what are we to do under these conditions? But also, what are we to do and what are we to instruct our constituents to do in order to effect the kinds of changes in Washington that are necessary if any of us are going to make it through this crisis? Thank you again for all of your remarks today, and please don't stop fighting.
I won't. All right, first of all, there's something we can do and should do right away. First of all, stop all bailout of banking systems. Put them into bankruptcy receivership immediately. Stop all bailout. No bailout. You put the institution, the financial institution, into receivership, in bankruptcy. That includes the Federal Reserve System, which is actually bankrupt. Don't bail anybody out financially. All right. Now, why? Because we have a need for very large amounts of credit. For example, we have to worry about a general collapse of the healthcare system. We're on the edge of a breakdown of the healthcare system. You're not looking at what I'm getting from doctors out there, from physicians out there. This system is, you're about to get a United States which is about to lose a lot of population because there is no health care available for ordinary people. You have people who are in the system now as physicians who want $1,500 before they'll even talk to you. You can't have their telephone number unless you pay $1,500. and the fees are still gigantic. What about our population out there which has lost its income? What are you doing? What are you, insane? Right? For example, that goes together with Social Security. Now, also we have an automobile industry which, as I indicated, we don't need the automobiles. We've got too many automobiles. What we need is a mass transit system. And we need it fast. We need all kinds of things, which the former auto industry, with its machine tool capability be mobilized and its personnel mobilized around it, all these things that we need urgently. Now, what we need, we've got to look for the bottom up also, not the top down only, the bottom up. The bottom up is we need a work program which will function within states as federal programs which are needed objectives. We need to authorize these things immediately, these kinds of things. We have to reverse the trend in collapse of employment in this sector, not bailout, but in this sector. And if we can't rebuild what was the auto industry, you don't need the auto industry. Stop talking about the auto industry. It's dead, killed. We have Japanese auto industry. We're going to have to go along with that for the time being. But we need the machine tool-driven capacity of what was the auto industry for any number of projects which that industry is capable of producing, as I proposed during the 2005 and up to 2006 until they stepped it out, until Narcissus bill, the Speaker of the House stepped on that one. Right? We need that. We also need programs on the state level. You want a trickle-up economy, not a trickle-down economy. Because you've got to go in these states, which are nearly in destitution. You've got to get the states functioning again, economically. You've got to put the money there. And that's the way to work it. In the immediate trend, that's the direction we got to go in. Don't worry about bailout. You need a bailout? Well, put you in bankruptcy. That should be the answer. You want a bailout? Okay. You're going into bankruptcy tomorrow. And we want to look at all your assets because you're going through bankruptcy already, remember? Huh? You're going into bankruptcy of your organization, including personal bankruptcy of your organization. Uh-huh. No golden parachutes. So therefore, we need to put the limited resources of the credit-emitting resources of the United States, the federal government of the United States, into things which are needed, which will, as a result, will stimulate a resurgence in actual useful growth in the local areas. And that's the way to do it. You've got to start on the high end. We need a commitment. We're going to build a national rail maglev system for this nation. Let's get going. We're going to build nuclear power plants for this nation because the other things won't work. No? We're going to actually look at agriculture. We're going to look at water system rebuilding. We have a water system crisis in the United States. We have a mass transportation crisis in the United States. We have a health care provision crisis in the United States. All of these things are where the federal government can utter credit, either subsidies or credit, to state areas which will generate a reversal of the income flow and employment on the state level, on the base level of the population. That's what Roosevelt did. This is a different situation, but the principle is the same. You've got to stop the bleeding. If we stop the bleeding, then work from there. But the turn has to be a decision to reverse the process. Stop the bleeding. Put the blood injections in the state level. Do it through the federal government, because that's the only institution that can generate credit in this nation, original credit. So take those programs, which are federal programs, or like revive the CCC. We've got a whole need for that sort of thing right now, with all these youth who are drugged up and so forth. You need something to save them. So things that will benefit the state level, the local and state level as benefits through federal projects, which are valuable federal projects, that should be the priority. And if anybody else needs a bailout, we got you a good, wonderful bailout. It's called bankruptcy. And take a list of all your assets. We're going to be reviewing those.